Well, we just lost a doubleheader in Pittsburgh, 11-5 and 7-3. So we snarled all the way to Columbus, where we put up at the Chittenden Hotel. Still snarled. Everybody was titchy. And when Billy Klinger took a sock at Whitey Cott at breakfast, Whitey threw marmalade all over his face. "Blind each other, Whitey! What do I care?" says McGrew. "You can't see, you have nothing anyway." Columbus win the exhibition game 3-2, whilst McGrew sat in the dugout, muttering and cursing like a 14-year-old Scotty. He had bad-mouthed everybody on the ball club, and he had bad-mouthed everybody off of the ball club, including the Wright brothers, who, he claimed, had not yet built an airship big enough for any of our boys to hit it with a ball bat. "I wish I was dead," he says to me. "I wish I was in heaven with the angels." I told him to pull himself together, because he was driving the boys crazy, the way he was going on sulking and bad-mouthed and whining. I was older than he was and smarter than he was, and he knew it. I was 10 times smarter than he was about this Pearl du Montville. First time I ever laid eyes on the little guy, which was the saddest day of my life. Now, most people's name of Pearl is girls, but this Pearl du Montville was a man. If you could call a fella a man who was only 34, 35 inches high. Pearl du Montville was a midget. He was part French and part Hungarian, maybe even part Bulgarian or something. I can see him now, a sneer on his little push-in pants, swinging a bamboo cane and smoking a big cigar. He had a gray suit with a big black check on it, and he had a gray felt hat with one of them rainbow-colored hat bands on it, like the young fellas wore in them days. He talked like he was talking in a tin can. But when he didn't have no foreign accent. He might have been 15 or he might have been 100, you couldn't tell. Pearl du Montville. After the game with Columbus, McGrew headed straight for the Chittenden bar. The train for St. Louis wasn't going for 3 or 4 hours, and there he sat, drinking rye and talking to the bartender. "Oh, I pity me, brother," McGrew was telling this bartender. "How I pity me." That was always his favorite tune. So he's sitting there telling the bartender how heartbreaking it was to be the manager of a bunch of blindfolded circus clowns. When up popped this Pearl du Montville out of nowhere. He gives McGrew a leaping jump. He thought at first maybe the TDs had come back on him. He claimed he'd had them once. And little guys popped up all around him wearing red and white and blue hats. "Go on now," McGrew yells. "Get away from me!" But the midget climbed up on the chair across the table from McGrew and says, "I seen the game today, Junior, and you ain't got no ball club. What do you got there, Junior?" he says. "It's a sideshow." "What do you mean, Junior?" says McGrew, touching the little guy, just to satisfy he was real. "Don't pay no attention to him, mister," says the bartender. "Pearl calls everyone Junior, because it always turns out he's a year older than everybody else." "Yeah?" says McGrew. "How old is he?" "How old are you, Junior?" says the midget. "Who, me? I'm 53. "Well, I'm 54. McGrew grins and asks him what he'll have, and that was the beginning of their beautiful friendship, if you don't care what you say. Pearl du Montville stood up on his chair and waved his cane around and pretended like he was ballyhooing for a circus. "Right this way, folks," he yelled. "Come on in! See the greatest collection of freaks in the world! See the armless pitchers! See the eyeless batters! See the infielders with 5 thumbs!" And on like that. Feeding McGrew gall and handing him a live ball at the same time, you might say. You could hear him and Pearl du Montville hooting and hollering and singing way up to the 4th floor on the Chittenden, where the boys was packing up. When it came time to go to the station, you could imagine how disgusted we was when we crowded in the doorway at the bar and see 2 of them singing and going on. "Well, well, well," says McGrew, looking up and spotting up. "Look who's here! Clowns? This is Pearl du Montville, a Monsieur of the old school. Don't shake hands with them, Pearl, because if their fingers are made of chalk, we would bust right off in your palms, he says. And he starts guffawing, and Pearl starts tittering, and they stand there giving them the eye and eye. It being the lowest ebb a ball club manager had gotten himself down to since the national pastime was started. Then the midget begun giving us the ballyhoo. Come on in, he says, waving his cane. See the latest base runners. See the outfielders with the butterfingers. See the southpaw with the arm of a little child. Then him and McGrew began to hoop and holler and nudge each other until you thought this little guy was the funniest guy, even Charlie Chaplin. The fellas filed out in the bar without a word and went up to Union Depot, leaving me to handle McGrew and his newfound crony. Well, I got him out of there finally. I had to take the little guy along because McGrew had a hold on him like a vice and I couldn't pry him loose. He's coming along as a mascot, said McGrew, holding the midget in the crouch of his arm like a football. And come along he did, hollering and protesting and beating at McGrew with his little fist. Cut it out, will you, Junior? The little guy kept whining. Come on, leave a guy loose, will ya, Junior? But Junior kept hold on him and began yelling, see the guys with the glass on! See the guys with the cast iron brains! See the fielders with the feet on their wrists! So it goes. Right through the whole Union Depot, the people started staring and catcalling, and he don't pull the midget down till he gets in through the gate. How am I going to go along without no toothbrush, the midget asks. What am I going to do without no other suit, he says. Doc here, says McGraw, meaning me. Doc here will look after you like you was his own son, won't you, Doc? I give him the eye and eye, and I finally got on the train. And then he finally got on the train and probably went to sleep in his clothes. This left me alone with the midget. Look it, I said. Why don't you go on home now? Come morning, McGraw will forget all about you. He'll probably think you was something he's seen in a nightmare, maybe. And he ain't gonna laugh so easy in the morning, neither. I said, so why don't you just go on home? Next, he says to me. Skitty-doo! He says, 23 for you! And he tosses his cane up into the vestibule of the coach and clambers on up after it like a cat. So that's the way Pearl du Montville come to go to St. Louis with the ball club.